So you believe, like the Depression, they should just stop it?
Because they just shut down the money supply. Right. That's the only reason you have a repression. It can't happen any other way.
But do you believe they should do that now to fix it?
No! You want to all starve?
What are you saying? Well, otherwise you're going to keep digging the hole.
If you start creating money and spending it in, you don't dig any hole. And you base it on actual production that's being done. When you get enough of this into circulation so people can live without and still have money, then you wipe off that debt. Well, I didn't say that last part. I misspoke. I got carried away.
You can't do that with the government taking it away.
You can't do what?
You can't build that kind of a system with the government taking a piece of it because they're not earning it. So
wait a minute. Well, who said anything about earning it? This is all going to go to people who work, not government agencies. This is why I say you have to be careful with this too.
Where's the government getting the money?
Same place they're getting it now. They just take out a pen and they write down numbers.
We don't give them enough; they make it up.
But you see now you have missed the most key thing of all. When they put it in, after they made it up, how did they put it in?
Our backs.
No, they loaned it to us. You got to remember, there's a difference between I own and I owe. And that is the most key important thing you must understand before you leave this room. There is a lot of difference between I own and I owe. Between what I get to borrow or I work and get paid for it.
So you're saying they're doing all this just to control what we're doing?
And rule the world. Let me give you one other thing, and I probably have to dig out. Oh, thank God I brought that with me. This is the neatest little thing. Believe it or not, this was given to me by the Vice President of the Federal Intermediate Bank of Omaha himself personally. Well, actually not personally, he mailed it to me, but I asked him personally, and he said he would do it personally, and then a few days later I got it in the mail. Now I'm going to read a little statement out of here. First off, I want to start with this one here. And then this is a book that tells you all about how they do this fractionalization, that you got that book that's going around. Shows you how to do that. Then when they get through with all that, they tell you, of course they do not really make loans out of the money they receive as deposits, like they just said they did. If they did this, would they be acting just like financial intermediaries, and I don't never pronounce that word right, and no additional money would be created, just exactly like I said. I mean, I read it right out of their book, so it must be true. In fact, what really made me believe it true was personal experience. You know, I know for a fact if you promise to hit me in the nose from over there, my nose will never hurt. I know I don't have... Now, if he gets up and stands here and he says that, well, now, wait a minute. My nose will never hurt as long as he just keeps a promise. But if he ever swings, I'm going to hurt.
I'm a pretty good thrower.
You can't do it. You can't throw your fist that far. You may throw the cup or the glass, but you can't throw that fist that far. And I don't care who you are. You can't do it. And see, this is what makes me believe most things. With a common sense and personal experience in real life tells me that it's true or it could happen or it couldn't happen.
Right.
And I know for a fact that if you tell me the horse kicked you from 10 feet away and I'm regularly legged, it's only 7 feet, I know you lied to me. And think about this. This is just logic and common sense. And I've spent my whole life trying to develop this. Just simple. What's the consequences? Now let's talk about consequences. If you just spend this for wars, what are you going to have?
Right.
You better be careful what you let them spend this for, and you better put some real things in there that you can control their butts, and people better understand it so you can tell them. Now, I got this whole idea from the United States Constitution. It says that Congress shall coin the money and provide for post offices and post roads. Plain coin. See, now, this is where I'm going to get booed out of the room. Because my brother, who's got a lot more education than I do, and I really don't have a lot of education, I've got a real good education in the School of Hard Knocks. I think I got a doctor's degree in that one. But as far as education, that's probably why I can figure this stuff out, because they never brainwashed me. I was too busy chasing them girls. And I hate to say that. I don't mean to insult the girls here, but I guarantee you when I was 14, I was 15, 16, I had a lot of fun. Never cared if I caught him, but facing was a fun, like a puppy. This is all. I'm kind of entertaining you a little bit. But, you think about this. So now, the Constitution and coins. Because In the Constitution, it says the Congress shall coin money. Is that a noun or a verb?
Verb.
And a verb is an action word, right?
Yeah.
So it's there to create money. If you look up the word create, coin in the dictionary as a verb, it says it means create. It doesn't mean to stamp. And it could mean to stamp, but even that's an actual action, isn't it? And it doesn't say anywhere they can only do it with gold and silver. Now, it clearly says no state can do it, but there's nowhere in the Constitution that binds the federal government to that. They was given the power to create money. I don't even think they understood it, frankly. Because now, if the Founding Fathers really believed that they could only use gold and silver, how come the first thing they did was start a central bank to borrow the money from? They did that in 1791. They passed the Mint Act in 1792. And the time they passed the Mint Act, they didn't have a known gold and silver mine in the United States. What are you going to stamp if you don't have any of it? I've got a real problem here someplace. Somebody's not telling me the truth on either side here. I don't know for a fact what they thought because I wasn't there. But I know for a fact this coining gold and silver won't work and can't work and never did work. And I got a real proof of that because if the Founding Fathers would have had gold and silver, why did they print continental currency to fight the war? And that, I've held them in my hand. Physically, I've held a continental currency in my hand. A friend took me to a museum in New Jersey, and the curator there had actually developed all that, found all that stuff himself, and it was just like talking to a walking, living, breathing encyclopedia. He just loved it, just come off. He's the only guy in my life who could out-talk me, and I was glad to listen to him. But anyway, and that said, it was a promise to pay Spanish mill dollar or equivalent weight of gold and silver. They promised to pay something they never had. They had no way of ever getting it. But they got immediately purchasing power that promised to pay you something. But of course it got worthless in the end, not because they printed too much of it, but because when anybody started asking for the gold and silver, and they did after the war, well, they didn't have a clue. They didn't have any of it, never had any of it, didn't have any way to get any of it. Well, when you all of a sudden you believed in this, and you really wanted to believe in it because it was the only way you was going to win the war. In fact, in my book, the new one, I have the actual ad from a New York paper where the English said an ad. It put an ad in the paper in New York that if you come in, we'll sell you all the counterfeit currency you want for the cost of the ream of the paper to print it on. We'll print it up for you and sell it to you for the ream of the paper. I bet they put out probably more than the Continental Congress did. I mean, it'd be a real temptation for the English to, well, we can go get these stupid patriots. They'll take this money. We'll go and buy it for nothing. We'll go buy their goods. And you don't think somebody's mind thinks this way? And you know, Hamilton, and I don't think all my founding fathers was quite what everybody thinks they was either, but I've done a lot more study than most people. But Hamilton said, a debt to a nation is a well-funded debt to a nation is a wonderful thing, or whatever. I don't have a quote exactly on the top of my head right now. A well-funded debt. Oh, that's it. A well-funded debt is a blessing to a nation. You know, when I first read that, what the heck are you talking about? I thought if I was well-funded, I didn't need any debt. Well, what well-funded means is you've got to have a good taxing system to make sure I get the interest on something I never loaned you. Why do you think that the income tax come in the same year they started the Federal Reserve Act? Because they wanted to make sure they had a good taxing system to make sure I got paid the interest, me the banker, on something I never loaned. And I put in a good taxing system that I could tax all the stuff from you that you produced, so I could have it.